So far, we have looked at 4 out of the 6 decision-making situations. So we've looked at target profit, we then looked at price setting, we then looked at optimum use of scarce resources. Last week, we looked at closure of potentially loss-making lines. So this week, we're going to look at acceptance of additional work, and then make or buy will be the topic for next week. So the main idea for this decision is when should businesses accept extra work at a lower price than normal. So you might be a business and someone might say to you, I want 100 units of the output at a lower price. So for example, you might sell paintings at £100 normally. Someone might come along and say, right, I want 1,000 paintings and I'll give you £60 for each painting. Because they're buying in bulk, they might expect less. Now, when is this a good idea to accept these offers and when is it not? So that's what we'll look at. So there's 3 conditions for us to accept the work, and all 3 have to be met. So the first one, that the selling price is greater than the marginal costs. So that means we still need a positive contribution from the additional work. If we get negative contribution, that will lead to a loss, so we won't accept that. The business has to have enough spare capacity to be able to complete the work without incurring additional fixed costs or preventing them from producing items to be sold at the normal price. So, for example, that painting situation I just gave, if in order to complete that additional painting job, we would need to rent another studio or take on another employee, so the fixed cost will go up, then we shouldn't do it. And finally, the customers will not then sell on the goods to other firms or other businesses at a price below that charged by original business, so they won't undercut us. Because if we sell it cheaper to them, they could then sell it on to someone else, which we want that second person to buy from us directly, so we get the better sale from them. Otherwise, we're just making goods for our competitors, essentially. So let's look at a worked example. So have a read of that yourself, so press pause so you can read it yourself or look at the document. So the Wyvern Bike Company produces 100 bikes a week and sells them for £200 each. So in the exam, I would underline 100 bikes and £200 each. So the costs are as follows. So the direct materials, £40 per bike, is 4,000. Direct labour, £50 per bike, so 5,000 a week. So altogether, that's £9,000 variable costs, because the direct material, direct labour, that's a variable cost, remember, and £5,000 fixed overheads. So the total cost is £14,000 for making those bikes. So the management of the company has been approached by a mail order warehouse which wishes to buy either 50 bikes each week at a price of £120 or 100 bikes each week at a price of £80. The bikes can be produced in addition to existing production with no increase in overheads. The additional work is not expected to affect the company's existing sales. So how would you advise the manager? So that last bit there, saying that no increase in overheads, that satisfies number 2. There's no issue to this current existing sales. So we just need to look at will the selling price be higher than the marginal costs? So let's try and work out the cost of one bike. So altogether, the total cost was 14,000, 100 bikes, so £140 per bike. So looking at that, the 2 options we've been offered, 50 bikes at £120 or 100 bikes at £80, both the selling prices are less than the cost to make the bike. So initially, you might think we should reject both offers straight away, but think about why might we not reject both offers straight away? Because by doing these, there'll be no increase in the fixed costs, so we can still make a profit because by making these extra bikes, it'll increase the variable cost but not the fixed costs. So we might actually make a profit. So we're going to use the marginal cost instead. Remember, marginal cost is just the cost to make one more item. So we have the cost to make one bike. So the marginal cost of one bike, well, let's have a look at it. So we got £40 the direct materials plus the £50 direct labour. We don't include the fixed costs because they're not going to affect one extra bike. So that's £90 per bike. So the marginal cost to make one bike, one extra bike, is £90. So offer one, 50 bikes at £120 each. So the contribution per bike there, well, remember the contribution is the selling price, take away the variable costs. So £120 take away the £90 means each bike would contribute £30 towards profit and the fixed costs. So that's a positive contribution. So the effect of profit, well, it'll be £30 times the 50 bikes, so 1,500. So each week would increase our profit by 1,500. So our decision, well, we should accept the offer. That's obvious. It's increasing the profit. What is option 2? 100 bikes at £80 each. So we would get £80 for each bike. Remember, the marginal cost was £90 per bike. So already you can see it costs more to make a bike than we would get from selling it. So hopefully you can see where we're going with this. The contribution per bike, well, we do £80, so the selling price, take away the variable cost. Remember, variable cost, marginal cost, essentially the same thing. So that gives us minus £10 per bike. So that's a negative contribution, which means on our profit, it would reduce it by, well, it's £10 per bike would reduce it, but there's 100 bikes. So it would reduce our profit by £1,000. So by taking this order, we'd actually reduce our profit. So our decision, again, should be an obvious one. We would reject the offer. So I hope that's made it clear how we can use marginal costing to decide. Then if you really wanted to illustrate this to managers to convince them, you would set out an income statement or weekly income statement. So we're going to have 3 columns. One for the existing production, so the 100 units, so showing what we would normally get profit-wise. The second one is for what would happen if we took the first offer, so the 50 bikes. And the last column is what would happen if we took the 100 bikes offer. So the revenue, well, £200 each. So just do £200 times 100 for the first column, then add on the 50 times 120, so 20,000 for each of them. So that's just from the 100 bikes that we want to sell regardless. Then for offer 1, we would sell 50 extra bikes at £120. So that would have no impact on what we currently do. It would have an impact if we took the first offer, but not the second offer. So the impact on this first offer, we do 50 times 120, so 6,000. And similarly for offer 2, we sell 100 bikes at £80. So it wouldn't impact the first column or the second column, just the final column, because that's the column for offer 2. So 100 times 80 is 8,000. And just add them up. So that's the revenue from each of the different cases. So for case 1 is we don't accept anything. Case 2 is we accept the first one. Case 3 is we accept the second one. Then we're going to take away our production costs. So the direct materials, it's £40 per unit. So the first column, there's 100 units. Second one is 150 units. And the final one is 200 units. So just do 40 times those numbers to get 4,000, 6,000, 8,000. Direct labour is £50 per unit. First column is 100 units. Second one is 150 units. And final column is 200 units. So times them all by 50 to get 5,000, 7,500, and 10,000. The fixed overheads, it said it doesn't change, so that's just going to be 5,000 for each. And then subtract those from the revenue to get the profit. So as you can see, that's what our profit would be for each of them. So that last one reduces the profit, which is what we don't want. So one of the highest profit is the second column. So that would make it really clear to management that they should choose the first offer. Okay, let's look at another example. So Hillview Hotel rents out a room at £50 per night during tourist season, calculated on per night basis as follows. So per night at £50, it's £15 for the caretaker wages, £5 utility charges, £8 cleaner wages, £10 fixed cost, and £12 of the £50 is profit. So during off season, a tourist company has offered to hire 10 rooms at £32 per night for 40 nights. Advise the manager on financial grounds whether rooms should be rented out to the tourist company. Okay, so the first thing we look at is the marginal costing per night. So the marginal costing is just the variable costs. So for one extra room, so the caretaker wage, utility charge, and cleaner's wage, not the fixed cost. So the marginal cost per night is £28. So the company was offering £32 per night. So the contribution would be £32, take with £28, so £4 per night. So it's positive, so that's a good thing. So the profit would increase by, well, £4 per night, 10 rooms and 40 nights. So 4 times 10 times 40 gives us £1,600. So therefore the offer should be accepted if the rooms would otherwise be unused. If we could sell the rooms at the normal price, we'd prefer to do that, but if they'll be unused, we may as well take this offer. And the last example I'll do with you, so hopefully you've had a go at this yourself anyway. So the Distinctive Hardware Industries manufactures one product of toolboxes. A company is operating at 60% of its normal capacity, so I would highlight that in the exam. It sells toolboxes at £10 each. An income statement for the year 30 June 2016 is as follows. So you've got all the details there, which we'll talk about more in detail, but the main one, I guess, at the minute is that £100 profit. Now here's our scenario. So a major automobile company, D1 Group, has offered to purchase 40,000 toolboxes modified to their specifications. So again, I would highlight 40,000. The toolboxes will differ significantly from usual design, and the buyer will mark the toolboxes under its own private label. Thus, these toolboxes will not compete with Distinctive Hardware's regular toolboxes, so that's meeting that third condition, that they're not going to become a competitor and sell it at a cheaper price. The D1 Group has offered Distinctive Hardware Industries £5.50 per toolbox, so I would highlight that. Direct labour and overheads will be at the same unit cost as Distinctive Hardware Industries' regular toolboxes, so the labour and the overhead stay the same. The direct materials will be £1.50 per toolbox, and the shipping costs to be borne by Distinctive Hardware will amount to 10p per toolbox. So we would have to pay that 10p per toolbox. Stayed on financial grounds should the special order be accepted. So there's the income statement again, just so we've got all the numbers we need. So to work out the marginal cost, well, the direct materials is £1.50. We were told that in the question. To get the direct labour, well, this income statement is for 60,000. So do the direct labour 180,000 divided by 60,000. So that will give £3 per unit. The variable costs do the same thing. So the variable overheads are 30,000 for 60,000. So divide them and get 50p per unit. The carriage outward, so the delivery costs, which we would have to pay, were 10p. So add them together, and the total marginal cost was £5.10. So anything above that should be accepted on financial grounds. So the contribution, well, we would sell them for £5.50. The marginal cost is £5.10. So the contribution is 40p per toolbox. So we should accept it on financial ground. And the profit will increase by 40p times 40,000 toolboxes. So £16,000 a year. Now, this bit in the question as well, so in the exam, you can mention this to make sure you can get some more marks. So it says that at 60% capacity, and that was 60,000 toolboxes. So you can do a bit of maths to work out what 100% capacity would be. And for this one, it's not too tricky to see that 100% capacity would be 100,000 toolboxes. So therefore, they have the capacity to make 40,000 more toolboxes. So therefore, the order should be accepted. There's no reason why not. They've got the capacity to do it. The company's not going to become a competitor, and the marginal cost is less than the selling price. So they should take it. So hopefully you spotted what the general rule is. The most important rule is that the additional work needs to make a positive contribution. So that was condition number 1. That's the most important one. There's some other factors as well, which you can talk about in exams. So additional work should not take place of products or services that can be sold above cost price. So if you can sell products higher than what they're offering you, you should always take that one. Yeah, this is only if you've got spare capacity to do it. There must be spare capacity to produce the additional products or services. Yeah, there's no point of incurring more fixed costs just to take on a special order. And customers who pay normal prices must not be aware of the special prices being offered for additional work. So imagine you normally pay £10, but someone's managed to get it down to £6. As a customer, you wouldn't pay them the £10 anymore. You would try and get one off the person who got it for £6. They might sell it for you to £7, for example, so they can make a profit. Yeah, so your customers must not be aware that you've had a special price on that additional work. And a customer buying the special prices may undercut the prices charged by other customers who have bought at normal prices. So that's what we talked about before. So if you've bought it at a special price, there's a risk that they might undercut you and steal some of your customers. Sometimes in the short term, a business might choose to sell below marginal cost. So that means they will make a negative contribution. So would reduce their profit, but they might do it in order to satisfy some of these. So they might use what we call a loss leader, which attracts customers who will then buy the product at its usual price. So it could be a new product, and you might want to do that to get people kind of hooked on your product, and then they'll pay a normal price. If something's expensive, so say there's a new box of cereal that would normally be £4, some people might not want to take the risk of spending £4 on a cereal they might not like, whereas if it was a special price, they might be willing to pay less than £4 to see if they like it, and if they like it, they would pay the £4 when the price goes up. They might also want to do this to develop relations with new customers with the intention of increasing prices in the future. So a bit like the example I just gave with the cereal, like an introductory offer. They might sell a range of products. So for example, by lowering the price of one, that might lead to a sale of a different one. So again, thinking about cereal, you might be a shop and you sell cereal and milk, and people might buy them together to have milk on your cereal. So even though you might be making a negative contribution from cereal, you still might get the profit from the milk. Whereas if you didn't offer the cereal, people might not come to you to buy the milk anyway. You might keep together a skilled workforce in terms of economic slowdown. So it's quite relevant now. So you might not be able to sell the products as fast. However, if you don't sell any, you'd have to let your workforce go, and they might be too skilled and too valuable to get rid of. So you'd still continue selling something at a negative contribution, with the hope of once the economy picks up, you'll be able to sell at a normal price again. And you might want to ensure continual availability of the product or services. Yeah, that's mainly for customer loyalty. If you stop offering it, they might find somewhere else that sells it, and you've lost a customer then. And that's it for this week.